And we're live. Good evening, everybody. Well, I tell you what, I've been talking to my guest, and the show's over. We've talked so much about it. There's no point in discussing it any further. So thanks, Roshan, for. No, I'm joking. Good evening, everybody. Total delight tonight. I've had some really great guests, but I first met this gentleman a few months ago when I attended one of his workshops in Soho. Not the sort of place you like to meet someone, I suppose, but it was really such a great workshop. I asked him at the time would he come on my show. He agreed. He's been so busy, in and out of the country, all over the place, and so anyway, he's with me. Today's guest is Alex Lambrechts, fashion and style photographer. Welcome to my show, Alex.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, finally.
Finally, we made it. Yeah, exactly. Fires in the houses and losing links.
We've walked through hell.
No, exactly right. And no internet. I think we might be walking through hell tonight as well, as it goes.
Well,
so
we've been there.
We've been there and back, I think. Yeah. Let's start off as I like to do. It's a fascinating story because I saw an interview that you had with Russian News a few years ago. I think it was now probably.
Last year.
And, last year. Okay, thanks.
Time does fly, but sometimes it also goes quite slow.
Yeah, and I was quite intrigued by the way the conversation developed. So I'm going to start my way. Photography. How did it all start for you?
Okay. To be honest, my parents had photographic labs. My mother was an expert photographic printer, which meant that she would process everybody's film, and she had an incredible knack for an incredible ability that both my parents saw and said, you know what, she's not going to work for anybody else. She was working with Pacific and other companies and Rabbit and all these others, making them a fortune in Australia. And Dad said, look, I think we need to open our own. And so they kind of just did. They just went out and did it. And I mean, there's so much that's learned in that time in my life that follows on as an adult as well. I mean, that ability to say, you know what, I don't want to do this for someone else. I'm going to go and do it on my own is actually why I've jumped and changed in my career all along. And it's given me that confidence. Coming back to the photography thing, what's an important thing to note there, I understood the technical process of photo processing. I understood the equipment. I understood, basically what it means to have a fantastic image, what it was to have tonality. You know, my mother was just incredibly meticulous in her approach. She didn't just give people what you get in a normal print shop today. She really labored over these images, and that's why they were greatly successful for a long time. But I was a young kid, and I'd help my dad design the store. We'd build the store. We'd lay the tiles. We'd do the whole thing. And when Mum had to work late because the store was just so busy, I'd be there till late at night, while she's printing the photos. And I used to work in the shop from when I was about 14 after school. I'd just go in there, and it was fun. It was a fantastic way to meet people. And I mean, I was also doing martial arts at the time, and everything that I kind of did, I wanted to be better at. So the photo, like I used to love sitting in the shop and see how quick could I work through with the film, how could I fix someone's broken camera, you're kind of like a bartender, you'd get flicking that was exciting.
This is darkroom days, Alex, yeah? This is
darkroom days, we'd say darkroom environments, because most of it, you didn't have to go into a room, you just had a dark box. So I could, my hands were in the dark, I just fumbled my way, knowing exactly what I was doing, playing around with it. Now, saying that, it was never an aspiration of mine to stay in there, and I was quite happy when I was a teenager to not have to spend so much time in the shop, to go and do other things, So for me, I was kind of that kid that was in the shop a little bit too much, and I never thought that I'd go anywhere near photography in that regard. Saying that, a few years later, in late 90s, around 97, 98, 99. I became creative director for Lucky Strike, Benson Hedges, and Dunhill, doing a lot of their marketing, and that was brilliant eye opener to the world of branding and using a lot of subliminal marketing. So it was really about understanding the key intricacies and the muscles of each brand and subtleties. That kind of stuff gave me an incredible grounding later on with photography and my ability to deal with clients, and also to be able to put together. I mean, I studied art at school as well, so these are things that I did my martial arts. I was always into the arts. I was always into expression. I always wanted to do something that had a human nature to it.
Tell us about the martial arts, Alex, because I get the impression that the way you're talking it through there, and correct me if I'm wrong. I know you will. Did martial arts grab you as an interest and interrupt and sort of take you away from photography and the artist world, or was it just a sort of, did you just see it as a natural stepping stone?
I started martial arts when I was 6 years old.
Oh, right, okay.
My dad threw me in. Back in those days, I was training with adults. Everyone was an adult, and I was 6. I was a little kid, and it was a very tough school. I was training Hapkido, and it was hardcore.
But that was another career for you, though, wasn't it? With the
it was eventually, yeah. I had my own studio. I had a bit of a knack. I mean, I took things to another level always. I always wanted to. I'd meet a master and I'd go, okay, what are you learning now? Let's try that. No, that's not that. No, that's just commercial crap. This works. No, that does. And I'd flick things away. I wouldn't. I didn't suffer any fools lightly. And in doing that, being able to dismiss what wasn't important and hold on to what was, and understanding my own virtues and what I wanted to achieve out of martial arts, I was able to accelerate quite quickly. I had a martial arts school where we were quite successful. I mean, I had up to 200 students. It was a full-time thing. At the same time, through those contacts, I then went to university to study business security management because I was doing. I had an interest in that kind of thing, and there I met personal protection gurus, and next thing you know, I'm bodyguarding for a while. Some pretty important people.
This is the amazing part. Let's just think about this. What we said. We started off here. We're a boy in a mum's shop developing film and processing.
I was doing martial arts before developing film.
Yeah. We've gone to school. We've gone into university. We've gone into marketing, and now all of a sudden we're a bodyguard.
No, I was bodyguarding before the marketing. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I had 4 or 5 jobs at different times.
Right.
I was working as a park ranger with special constable rights in Australia, and flying around in a boat on Georges River, pulling people over, all sorts of stuff like that. But then also working on quite serious close personal protection crews. Yeah. Working with the government on some of those things, with the police.
Really?
So I did some pretty serious but exciting.
I bet it was.
Things like that, but that all came down to just taking it seriously. If you apply yourself and you make the right contacts and you've got some confidence, there's not, like I say before, there's nothing.
I think you've just touched on a very important point there, where you've just said applying yourself, and which I think is coming through now in your career now as a photographer, and this line now that you're on. Let's get back. Oh, got a bit of feedback. Let's get back to.
Yeah, otherwise I could talk for hours on that.
Yeah, I know. Somehow I've got to work a way of interrupting you. I think probably I'll just put my finger up. I think. Yeah. I'm joking. I'd just love to hear my guests talk. Don't worry. So okay, now we've done the marketing. How was it from marketing that you got back into your photography? Was it that temptation?
I touched on quickly. I said I was working in nightclubs. What I was doing there, I was employed to do the door of a really hardcore kind of. I mean, clubs in Australia back in the late '80s, early '90s that was Fight Club. I weighed 68 kilos, which is about 7 kilos less than I do now. I'm not a big guy. And I was in there, and everyone was just muscled up and aggro and crazy. And my friend used to come to my martial arts classes, and he also studies martial arts. He's a fantastic martial artist. And he said, "Alex, do you want to do the door?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll go and do that." And that's where I started playing in that scene. And in doing that, I made a lot of contacts I mean, people that used to come into that club, that was Kinsella's Middle Bar back in the day. We had everyone that ever went to Australia of some sort of rock star stature went through that door, and it's a very small club. We're talking like 100 people in there. Everyone knew each other. So I did that for about 8 years. I was very comfortable in that kind of scene. I then went on to manage and own a handful of other clubs. Came to London. Went in as partner on a couple of notorious haunts. Again, picking up all those contacts. And then I left, went back to Australia, opened another club. It got shut up by bikies. I said, sod this, I'm going back to London. I didn't go into ownership. I went into promotion and doing events because there was a lot of money to be made during the boom with that. So I could just turn up on a Friday night and get paid. I started to get quite bored of that. There was no creativity behind that, and I thought I'm going to get a camera and just start taking photos at the moment because I'm quite bored. But like I wonder, have I actually peaked? I've done so well at everything that I wanted to do, but I kind of stagnated for the last few years, and I knew that owning a club wasn't going to be something. I'd already done it. When it was cool. You know, now it's just commercial.
What year was this? Around about what sort of time?
Oh, this is 4 years ago.
Oh, right.
This 4 years ago, I'd already said I'm just not. I can't be bothered really taking that industry seriously anymore. So what else do I want to do? Something that scared the hell out of me was photography. You know, I knew how technical it was. I knew that there's a lot involved to it. I knew that if I was ever going to go into it, I wanted to be striving to be the best. I wanted to you know, I wasn't just going to go in there and take a few photos and to see what happens. I knew that if I was going to go in, I had to take it very seriously. So I saved up to buy a hell of a lot of equipment, as we kind of do when we start. We think, oh, what's the best camera I can afford, and go all out and get every lens because you think you need all that stuff. But in the process of saving up to do that, I began researching online and studying the masters and studying various people, reading a lot of books. We're talking literally 10 hours a day, you know. So even if I was working or I was doing things, it was nothing for me to sit there and just go through hours and hours of study at a time. And you're talking about, you know, a good 2 months of doing that. By the time I had my equipment, I was heavily grounded in my idea of wanting to be, to have a reportage documentary kind of style to what I was doing.
And what equipment was that when you first set out?
I bought a D700 with various lenses.
Right.
Then I did the whole thing of buying the light kit, learning how to do studio, you know, and doing all that kind of thing. And then I thought, well, I know how to use this camera, but what the hell is this? What are these other cameras? Will I know what to... So trading my gear, go for the other one. So I actually always went through the process of trading and changing. I didn't really collect. I'm not a collector. And
no.
You'll see, actually, I told you, I think I showed you, I only had at the time 2 bodies and couple of lenses, and that's it.
Well, that's right. Which I think really comes around to my way of photography, because I didn't have a D700. I had Nikon equipment. I had 3 camera bodies. I had 5 lenses. The D50, D200, the Nikon V1, and the lenses. And it was just, in the end, I was carrying a bag round full of gear just in case. And I called it the just in case bag. and it wasn't until I saw Zach Arias and Dave Hobby talking about the X100 and then the X100S that I thought, hold on a minute, there's something in this. And then I researched very, very deeply, and I made the decision to sell all my gear, and I bought the Fuji Xe1 with the 1855. Thus, one camera, one lens was born, and went on from there. So, okay,
eventually I got around to Leicas and rangefinders.
Right. Okay.
And that's when it just went. This is it. You know.
Yeah.
Except I can't shoot in the dark. It keeps jamming up. Everything will follow you. The horrible ISO performance. Everything that went with them. Both the M8 and the M9. You know, I kept trading back and forth because I was shooting commercially at the same time. So there were certain things that the M8 just wasn't going to hold up.
Okay. Can I just back up there on what you've just said? You're shooting commercially now.
Yeah.
and you're using the M8, M9. You're not happy with it. Obviously, you were shooting commercially with
I'm happy
the
with the
Nikon
style
gear.
of it. No, see, this is what's kind of funny. While I say the camera is not important, it is to an extent, because having that different that kind of camera in my hand just
Yeah,
a different mindset. And for me, it's all about intuition. It's about not worrying about the equipment, having minimal controls, and just being able to focus on my subject or what I'm
yeah.
doing. I mean, I used to walk the streets with my camera in hand and just not take a photo, but it'd be in my hand that whole day. I wasn't going to do that with a DSLR.
No, of course not. No, what I was
Figure
actually,
that out at somebody. You know, it just wasn't my style.
no, the
I like
point,
to hide things, put them in my pockets, etc.
yeah, the point I'm trying to make though is I'm going back to when you got your D700. You'd actually picked up commercial work at that stage.
Yeah, well, I was shooting commercially for doing lookbooks, and
How did you get that work?
I had a lot of fashion contacts. I still do.
Right. Okay.
So as soon as, I mean, Facebook was fantastic. You'd post a few
Yeah.
photos, and then blah blah blah, and the next thing you know, you're shooting for pretty cool stuff. You know, I've got
Yeah.
to say, right from the start, yeah, I was making money from the start. So I knew, okay, this could be something. At the same time, just being a commercial photographer wasn't my passion. You know, it wasn't my goal. My goal was to be a fantastic photographer, and to me, it wasn't about just selling out and just trying to make money, because
No.
that I could have done in my career over and over and over and over again. Could have done it in martial arts when everybody was offering me fake belts and degrees to join their schools and all sorts of junk like that. Could have done it when I had nightclubs. Could have just opened a nightclub to make money, but I didn't. I always had a vision of what I wanted. Same thing with restaurants. Same thing with marketing. You know, there were certain brands I decided I'm not going to go. I don't like working with, and I don't want to do anymore. With photography, I could have started shooting celebrities out of it. I used to go to Cannes. I had everybody open to me. You know,
Yeah.
backdoor through every kind of scenario.
Right.
People wanted to be photographed. I wasn't that guy. That was to me, the people that were doing that were just wankers and social climbers, and that's not me. So there were a lot of things that restricted my growth at the same time. But that's why having certain cameras were important for me, because I didn't want to just have the commercial work camera. I wanted to have the camera that I enjoyed shooting with, that I was going to use all the time. Enter the Fujis. You know, I saw an ad for the X Pro 1, because I knew how the system works with agencies and with PRs and all that kind of thing, and marketing. I wrote them a really nice letter detailing, you know, number of possible outcomes and things that I will give them if they could allow me to have trial of some of their equipment and kind of do a win-win. I sent that out on a Friday afternoon. Monday morning, I already had a meeting for the Tuesday to go and talk to their PR agency, and they had a camera for me to take. At the time, the X Pro 1 hadn't been released yet. She said, "Here, have the X100S. It'll be ready on Thursday or Friday or whatever it was," because they didn't have it in. They were getting it in, and I got that camera because I obviously used every other system forever. You know, everything, every camera you can name, I played, I owned, I made sure I was proficient with. I pulled the X100 out of the box, went to a fashion show, and just pulled it up and just started firing away, and it was just love. you know? So I just went, this is it. I can't wait for the X Pro 1. I knew the X Pro 1 was coming on X time. I ordered it. It was ready. I got rid of my I had the D3S at that time.
Right.
So, you know, that was my kit. Which I mean, I loved that camera. It was fantastic. But it sat at home.
Yeah.
You know, or the awkward times when I wanted to walk around with it. It just wasn't with me all the time, and it's not the approach that I wanted. That was Alex, commercial Alex. This is his work gear. That's not fun. So I think at the time I also had a Leica still. I still always kept the Leica, even though they were just shocking to use in some environments. In others, they're still fantastic, and I still love them.
We'll get some emails on that, I bet.
They just yeah.
You hate
love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I absolutely love them, but there were times when they let me down.
I think this is what it all comes down to, the fact, you know, comfortability. Working with Sinbad, your good friend, said to me that it's a tool. You've got to be comfortable with the tools you're using for whatever work you're going to use. And as you said, if you just want to go and walk around the street, you're not going to walk around the street with a D3S on your arm and a couple of lenses in a bag, you know. But whereas you can quite easily do that with an X100S or even an X Pro with a 35mm lens on, and you're comfortable, you're ready to shoot, you're comfortable with the way the thing operates. Well, photography came back to me when I picked up the XE1, and I honestly, I've said that so many times to people, because of the simplicity of the way I find the camera and its ease of use, and yet the quality that I get. I think they're just outstanding. The whole series of cameras they brought out is outstanding. Where did you get your style of fashion and style photography that we're now seeing in the magazines, in the Vogue and the and the GQ magazine? Where did that style come from?
I'll clarify something. With Vogue, for example, what I've got done with Vogue, it's actually less glamorous than what it might sound. I basically have had probably half a dozen different jobs placed into Vogue, but they're online. They are sometimes they're the lookbook that I've done for one of the clients. They're the behind the scenes. They're this, they're that. It's not like they've commissioned me for editorial. So I don't want that to be misunderstood in that regard. GQ is a little bit different. Obviously, I was commissioned with them to do what I've done, and I've had so many other publications, and that's fine. I'll take credit for that stuff. But at the same time, I guess the reason that I'm being booked now and that some people are looking at my work more than what they did before is not so much that it changed, it's that I was able to remove all the crap from my portfolio and show people what my real style is. And that's what comes through. So now if you look at my portfolio, you go, that's Alex. You know, the angles are me, the wide, the mood is me. You can get inside my head, you can get inside the head of that's what's very important for me. But I was doing that right from the start. The problem is nobody reacted to it because it's too gritty, it's too raw. Everyone just said to me, this is too raw, I love it, I want to put it on my wall, but I'm not going to pay you. You can't shoot my brand like that, you know. And I was like, but you will eventually. You know, that's what I honestly thought. And I honestly thought, you know, I look at fashion photography, and you know, I'm going to get some horrible emails over this comment, but it just lacks soul. It's basically commercial photography. It's selling out. It's all about the clothes. It's all about the tip. The photographer is one of the smallest contributors on some of those fashion shoots. You know, it's not important. The art director, the magazine editor comes out. She knows exactly what she wants. She puts everything the way that they want it. And the photographer sits there and pushes the button and then spends hours retouching, or has his assistant retouching, and then takes all this credit for something that the stylist actually labored over for hours. The hair and makeup have labored over for hours. The model is already one of the most beautiful women that's walked the world. You know, so many photographers taking credit for shooting these beautiful women. There's no fantastic photography there. That's a beautiful woman. That's why that photo looks good.
Yeah.
That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to make great photos. Taking photos of something that's beautiful, any numbskull can do that. You know, and they really can. It's like Duffy says, it's not a violin, it's a camera. You know, you can't pick up a violin and go and join a concert.
This is the conversation which I had with Jerry when I interviewed Jerry Walden, and we were talking about your work, and we were talking about back in the 60s the David Bailey, the Mick Duffys, and the Terence Donovans of the time. But Bailey broke the rules. He knew what he was doing. Let's be perfectly honest with you, with everyone here. Bailey knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to change things. He had a style which initially certain art directors didn't want. But it wasn't until basically one of the major, I think it was Vogue magazine,
Harper's, I guess.
Yeah, or Harper's and Queen's probably, where the editor turned around and said, "No, hold on a minute. No, let's stop and take stock. The world is changing. Fashion is changing. People see fashion now differently than what we used to see when Norman Parkinson maybe took a straight portrait of a lady standing there with a coat."
Norman Parkinson's fantastic. I love it. I mean, just mind blowing, beautiful. But that's not what Bailey and that were doing. You're right.
Exactly right, and that's where we came around to talking about your work and where, as I say, and you made the comment earlier on, where when I'm going to go to screen share in a minute, Alex, when show some of your work off your website. When people see your work, they will say, "That's a Lambrechts," and that to me is that speaks volumes that you've.
That's really nice. I think people can identify signatures in what I do, and I have a lot of that, and a lot of that comes from branding. A lot of that comes from intent. You know, it's not being lazy. It takes that extra step closer. You know, which is why I love the small cameras. Which is coming back to the gear. Why is it important? I don't feel comfortable dangling a 30 centimeter tube that weighs 3 kilos in front, 1 centimeter from someone's head. But I'll stick this camera right up your nose, and I'll stand back, and I'll use the tilt LCD screen. Heaven forbid, how uncool is that? Professional photography.
Well, exactly right. Let's go to screen share.
Okay.
And fingers crossed, everyone. Hopes this works.
Where are you on? You're going to go on my website?
Yeah, I'm going to go onto your website if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Can you see that now?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, and it's nice and big on the screen because I can't see you now.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So I've got an options here. Should we go to fashion and lifestyle first, the first window? And I'm just going to, what I'll do here, Alex, I'll just go through some images, and just talk us through your idea, like this one here. These guys. Oh, it's on a play, isn't it?
So here's the thing: when I'm shooting fashion, it's got to be on my terms. I don't. There's another story. There's always another story that can be told. You know what I mean? There's got to be a narrative. There's got to be something that is defining me through the image, but also the subject, and that the viewer can identify.
Yeah.
There are some very obvious signatures here that make it very me. I mean, one of the most important things is that you have to go into an image and travel. I need to make you travel around. I can't have you look at my image, even in a thumbnail, look at it and bounce back out. I've got to give some direction in there. And I play a lot on the. I mean, you can obviously see the various breakups in the composition in there, but there are other elements in there. There's tonality. There's.
Yep.
I mean, there are so many just on this one. I love this image. A lot of this stuff happens spontaneously. Having a nice screen, because I didn't have my eye on this. If to do that, I would have been hanging from a harness from the ceiling.
Yeah, sure.
So this is where using things like the screen allow me to manipulate my composition a lot more than what I could even with a DSLR. Sure, people say you can just pre-focus, or you could use zone focusing and just pace it up and click it. I didn't do that. I'm composing with the screen. You can use live view with some of those cameras, but again, you've got this massive thing hanging down over someone. It's just obtrusive. For me, my camera's smaller than my hand. It's just this little thing. Put it in there quickly, bang. These guys weren't going to sit there all day and model for me. This is just very quick. This is real reportage. I don't. Can you do that again? Can you do that? No. Just put them in the position. I mean, look, this is fantastic. Sam is sick of being shot. You go back to that guy with the hat.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it up now.
Miss Taylor, and as Aaron is there, and this is what I'm doing as well. I'm shooting. My subject matter here is men, right?
Yes.
Men who really have achieved a lot. They've got a confidence. They've got. They're very discerning about They've got a very, very definite brand that they're very sensitive about. They're not just willy-nilly. They're not just trying to put things together and run out there. These guys are building empires around what they do.
Yeah.
Sam and Shaka have got over 80,000 Instagram followers. They're doing collaborations with everyone all over the planet. They're flying around everywhere, and they're good friends of mine. We've been mates for a few years. I knew that if I shot them, I had to be sensitive to capturing them properly and trying to capture the essence of what it is that inspires me about the way that they're craftsmen. The meticulous attention and to detail that they place in their craft is something I admire, and I wanted to capture that in my shots. But at the same time, I didn't want to just stand them against the wall like everybody does. I wanted to.
You would have lost it. You've
Yeah,
you've, you've
I'm doing
created a style
I'm
with
doing
this
the
guy.
Lambrick shot. You can see it, right? It's obvious. It's very
Yeah.
similar to the other one. But at the same time, I'm capturing him smiling. I'm not retouching it. You know,
No.
he can't retouch. I don't do that. He's a man. That's
Yeah.
how I've got to look. And that's,
These are the twins, the Bloom twins.
yeah, I shot them. This is the second time I shot them. They are beautiful twin models who have been shot Vogue Italia a number of times, worked with Ellen von Unworth and, you know, countless other famous fashion photographers. They are musicians. They don't want to be models. They actually really just want to play their music. And when we shoot, I shoot them as twins.
Yeah.
I shoot them as unique twins. I don't shoot them as identicals like a lot of people like to do, because they have their own personalities. And you can see that in our images. And that's very important for me. And it's also very important for them as because they want to express themselves. So again, I'm sensitive to how they want to be portrayed, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think
these are not shots. I styled them myself. This is my clothes they're wearing.
Yeah. Oh, right.
They
Okay.
got new haircuts, and I said, let's go like this. And, you know, got the hair and makeup artist, who's a great friend of ours, who was actually there. I met her through them. I showed their manager the images. You know, I said, I want to go blurry. I want to go dark. None of this clean crap. You know, let's get gritty. And
That's exactly right.
got excited. Everyone got excited. We all started high-fiving, and then I thought, damn, now I've got to go and take these photos.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, straight off the bat, the photos were beautiful. This is campaign shot in Cape Town, X100. You know, not the X100S, not the X Pro one.
Yeah.
The beautiful quality of that. I just love it. It looks so like film to me. It's very
super shot.
You know, this is a friend of mine who I knew from here, but she happened to be in Cape Town. I did massive casting. The client's quite specific about a certain mood, a quirkiness. You look at her personality. That's what's important. You know, that look in her eye. That's what I was looking for. Not, again, some girl standing against the wall. You know, it's just
very true.
It's a lost opportunity. This is Franzi, another friend of mine, and you're jumping quite a few there. But yeah, there's this is again for another. This is for a cashmere camp. No, not cashmere. Woolens from. It's an English company, but he gets them all from the Amazon region.
Yeah.
This was shot in Wales. It was a horrible day.
9 times out of 10, then when you got horrible weather like that, they come out pretty good, don't they?
This came out fantastic because she's
diffused light.
Again, a lot of credit goes to the model. It's not always the photographer. You know, a lot of photographers take so much credit for what a model can bring to it.
I've just gone on to, I'm not going to stay this. Now, this is another side of your photography where you get into the reportage. I'm just going to let this roll because, we won't go all through 83 of them. Not that they're boring images. I think they're all classic, superb reportage work. But if you could just talk us through, this is a different side of your work.
This is probably shows my leaning towards what the masters shot like, where my influences came from, the black and white. Obviously, you know, if you open up any news articles on this event, because there were hundreds of photographers around that day, they were all doing these bright-colored, standard angle shots, looking to shoot the most violent stuff. Not really, as far as I could see, just looking for that bang shot, you know, that they can sell for the front page, but not really shooting any story. They weren't jumping around. They weren't being creative with what they were doing.
So really, this sort of work here, Alex, is not necessarily for you to sort of turn around to the newspapers and say, look, here's a couple of images for you. You're looking really to create a portfolio here, aren't you?
I wanted to give a bit of an essence of what it was to be there, but at the same time, you know, it's okay. It's what it is. It's a reportage. It's not. Yeah. It's not going to go. I do have this actually. This was in in a gallery in New York, but I mean, it's not the kind of stuff that I would go, wow, you know, I'm so great. Beat my chest about it. It's all right. It's not.
What I'm actually trying to find.
I mean,
is I've had the privilege of taking a photograph of this lady. I'm trying to find her. And I'm not saying that I did it as good as you, but I can't find her.
You've got to scroll along. Keep going.
There she is.
Oh, there's Jasmine.
You know I'm talking. Yeah, there you go.
This is
How did you
something
meet
I've
Jeff?
learned a lot now. But again,
I think this is great. I think I love the expression of the fella on the right there. That's just absolutely superb.
he's a funny guy. I mean, this is randomality, and that's a fantastic thing about shooting on the streets. Jasmine
Yeah.
I saw him coming. I said, Jasmine, look at this guy. And she was kind of walking alongside him, and you know, she knows how I shoot, and she can tell when I'm about to do what I'm about to do. And he clocked on what I was doing, and so he gave me this look. But
Superb.
the truth is that in the next frame, he's sticking his finger up at me.
Oh,
You know?
no.
But it was at the same time tongue in cheek, because he was like, yeah, you got what you wanted.
Got what you wanted, exactly
Yeah.
right. You got
No,
what you wanted.
he's a good chap. He's one of the dandies that walks around Soho. You know,
Yeah.
this is right out the front of Floridita. You know, he's like an old Cuban cat, and he's plenty of these guys, and that's kind of fun. It's good. It's cool.
Yeah,
I want to be doing a lot more of this fashion meets street with that randomality thrown into it. But
yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm not doing that. You know, all the big boys did it back in the '60s. People don't do it now because I don't know. Maybe they're scared that it's not going to work. I'm not scared of it not working. I like mistakes and all that kind of thing. So I guess that's where I'm happy to play around in that.
I found an image where I've just got to say I've had the privilege of taking photographs of this this lady. She's fantastic. She's a great model. From certainly on the workshop, she lit up. We had so much fun when everyone's sort of crowding around her and taking the photographs, and all these fellas were coming up to me and saying, "Who's that? Who's that? Where's she from? Where's she from?" I recognise that face. And of course, it's when I told them exactly what it was, and that she was a professional model, but they thought she was some kind of a film star, and we had some fun.
We had the same thing happen a couple of weeks ago with the latest. The stopping traffic was really quite funny. But also, she's working it because we're trying to push that juxtaposition between being obvious with the fashion, you know, being vulgar, if that's the right word, and then throwing it into the banal, you know, or everyday life, and that's what I love, and it's fun. And there we're playing up to that, you know. It's a game. Yeah. But she's fantastic for that, because when she does her walk and she's got her heels on and I mean, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's we had some great fun. The amount of guys that I teased while it was going on was just incredible. Yeah. And I said, "Oh no, I can't tell you who it is. She's such an important superstar." And he went, "Oh, really? Can I get her autograph?" And so I said, "No, she's working at the moment." I was teasing them left, right, and centre. I had so much fun while the guys were taking the photographs. So that's a really good insight into your style of work, and thanks very much, Lee, for talking through those images that you've done there. We're now, to be quite honest, the way it looks, and I saw a lovely film which was put together by a guy that was on the workshop, on your last workshop, when you invited some guys, and you started off in the Sandersons, and then you went off. I did that. That's my first film I directed and cut. Great insight. Who was the guy behind the camera, though? That's Sinbad. Sinbad. Thought it was Sinbad. Yeah. It was great. But what I noticed and was on the bed there as you're talking through, it's all Fuji now. Fuji XT1, X100S, a couple of flashes I saw as well there, which basically, I know you're not a great lover of using flash, but you've got them obviously there just in case, I suppose. And lenses. Just give us a brief synopsis, a description of the lenses, the different type of lenses you use. I've got my kit here. So I've got my X100S. Typically has the wide adapter on it, which gives me my 27mm equivalent. I've recently got the 50mm equivalent telephoto. Okay. Both of those absolutely superb. This really is all I need, you know, to get me through 90% of my work. Saying that, as you know, I'm a fan of going very wide, so I've got the 14mm Fujinon. Okay. You know, possibly my favorite lens. You know, it really is just, it's just superb build. Everything about it, it's just magic. I have that on my XT1 because obviously the X100S I can't interchange. Sure. So if I want to go wider than the 27mm, I go to my 21mm equivalent, which is the 14. Okay. And that's wide enough for me. And then I've got a 50mm Leica on here, manual focus, because as I told you, I like to manual focus. And I haven't got the 56 yet. They just didn't have it when I wanted.
Oh,
But
everyone's talking about the 56 at the moment.
Yeah,
So.
and that gives me this gives me my 75mm equivalent. You know.
So you've got nothing. You've got nothing longer than 75mm.
No, that's it. That's it.
And the one thing that
I use that mainly for studio because I have to flatten the image, and I've got to sit back, and I do studio. I do a lot of lookbooks, so it has to be part of my kit. Otherwise, I would quite confidently say X100S. That's all I need. Then because now I became addicted to the 14mm, I gotta have that. So
yeah, you gotta have that. Yeah, I know exactly.
That's it. But that's my wide and long. I've got nothing in between. And then I've got the 3 lenses on this. So you got your 35, your 21, and your 20, and your 50, which is just enough. So I've got 5 different focal lengths with 2 bodies, and that's all I have. I don't even have anything else. I don't need anything else. I don't have any extra lenses. I actually have an adapter for Nikon, so that if I've actually got a job that I want to do, a new editorial I'm going to shoot with telephoto. I'm going to get probably shooting around the 200 to 300mm range.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to get right back, and I'm going to shoot something which you guys will see soon.
Yeah, sure.
If I do it, I'm going to put the Nikon adapter on my Fuji.
Yeah.
On the X-T1.
Yeah.
Manually focus it and fire it away.
Yeah, I've got a 50mm, which I didn't get rid of, Nikon 50mm, and I did buy the adapter to fit onto the XE1, and I was quite honest with you, I was really disappointed. There's no need. I'm going to just stick with the 1855 Fuji.
Yeah,
there's no need
to I don't think that's a lens that's really worth much.
No, it's not. Where are we here? Hold on a minute, just to check. So we talked about your style. Let me ask you, who's your favourite photographers? Now, I know you studied your photographers. Would you?
To be very honest, I don't study everyone. So you don't know the amount of times I'll chat to another professional photographer, and I don't even call myself professional. I don't like to call myself a professional photographer. I don't know what that means. But when you talk to someone who is classified as a professional, and they'll drop some name, and I'll go, "Oh, I don't know who that is," and I can't believe you don't know that. Well, I just don't. So I'm sorry. I found the guys that I love that I could study for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Robert Frank is one of those.
Yeah.
Robert Frank, I will pick up his image, and I just want to throw my camera at the wall because I wonder, can I ever do what he did? The brilliance. Looking at his contact sheets, you can tell what he was thinking.
Yeah. And then recently you posted a video for Steichen.
Yeah.
I started watching.
Another genius.
Yeah.
These guys are like savants in the photography world. I've got another friend who I do workshops with in Poland, Thomas Lazar. He's 28, maybe he's 29. Actually, I don't know, maybe he's 30 now, 28 to 30. This guy's blows my mind. I'm sitting there on the workshop with him, and I've got my photos, and everyone's like, "Oh, Alex, yeah, you're commercial." My stuff's commercial crap compared to his. This guy is like he's like this genius. He just puts his camera into this thing, and it's blurry, and it's just unbelievable. He's won Well Press. He's now won. I think he won the Sony Sony Photographer of the Year. That's a serious photographer.
Yeah, I think I saw.
I aspire to shoot like, and they're also the same kind of guys that make me just want to stick my head in the sand and go.
Yeah, I get it. I know. I think I saw a video of it was I think it was a Fuji film in Poland. You were there doing your workshop, and there was this other photographer. It must have been him. I'll have to do a little bit of a checkup on him.
You've got to get him on. I mean, he's brilliant. I mean, he's got everyone looking at him. He's got Magnum looking at him. He's got Seven. He's been invited. They're all watching him very closely, and that's for good reason.
Yeah.
He does things in his photos I don't know he's aware of. In fact, I'm going to call him after this because I was talking to someone while he was talking. I was like, he doesn't even know he's done that. I was showing what he was doing to somebody, and they're like, oh, right. Because I can see signatures, and I can see his signatures. And I'm not sure he's aware of his because he's so blasé about it.
But don't you think that happens so many times where a guy has got a talent and he does something, and you say, how did you do that? And you say, well, I just did it. I think there is there is definitely a time.
There's intuition out there, you know, and
there is. It's subconscious. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I forget who I was talking. Oh yes, my interview with High Money, the lady sports photographer who she had an awful experience with professional photographers in the world of sports journalism, and she said to me, she said, Paul, I just don't know why I took any shot. She said, but I just did it. There'd be a guy about to head the football. I'd click and I'd have the guy heading the ball. She said, I don't know why. She said, I didn't study photography. I didn't pick any book up.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm a firm believer. It's all subconscious. If you've got an artistic or a photographic mind, there comes a point where that figure responds to something in your brain, and it takes the photograph.
You learn that ability, and you can become more in tune to it.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying. I mean, I'm nowhere near that. You know, that sounds like I'm actually there. I'm not. I just understand that I need it. And I don't have it, and I want it, you know.
Yeah.
A long way to go. So it's
you've got the passion, you've got the desire, and you apply yourself. So you're on your way.
This week alone, I've done. Where are we? We're Friday. Since actually, I spent the whole weekend last week. Must have done, I don't know, 20 hours of study. You know, I'm always pushing it. I don't take it easy.
That's interesting.
It's not a joke. I didn't do it by accident. It's hard work.
I've got a load of photography books, and Cartier-Bresson and Sol Leiter, who's probably my favourite of all time street photographer, and loads of other guys. Obviously names forget at the moment. Ansel Adams, that sort of work. And every time I say, "Oh, I think I'll buy another photographic book," my wife says, "Oh, not another book. Please don't buy another photographic book." As long as they buy you,
it's fantastic. And I mean, I've got a few books. There are photographers that have obviously influenced me a lot, that some of them are known, some of them not so known. A lot of them are very famous in their day, and they're forgotten now. I just think...
Well, this is a good segue, actually, as they say in the States.
So tell me, okay, so you wanted to ask me about certain photographers. Hopefully I know who they are.
I'm going to give you now a list of photographers.
You embarrass me here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. It's your chance to be embarrassed. No, listen. No, listen. I'm going to give you a list of photographers one by one, and I want you to give me a one-word association of the photographer or the work. Okay. And then if we end up having a chat about the individual, that's great. That's even better.
Okay.
So we're going to start off. The first one, David Bailey.
Well, yeah, I mean, just pioneer.
Okay. Yeah, I like the word pioneer, actually. When I don't know whether you know the guy out. I always tell this story when I say David Bailey. I don't really know Frederick Van Johnson at all. He's a host of the podcast called TWIP, This Week in Photography, and he was my very first guest. And I said to him, David Bailey, and he said, "Can I give you 2 words?" I said, "Yeah, certainly." And he said, "It's Jack Nicholson." And I went, "What?" Then I think I could just about fathom what he was trying to get at. There's a little bit off the shelf, but you know. But pioneers, I like pioneers.
Those guys were very lucky at the time that they came, where they were given creative freedom to do whatever they wanted. But at the same time, so many photographers have it now, and they just don't have the balls to do what those guys did. You know.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm cocky, but I have the balls to do what I want. I'll only shoot photography on my terms. I'll only shoot fashion on my terms. And that's what they did. And that's where they were able to differentiate themselves. And I think because of the economic crisis we had recently and other things, and you know, people are too worried about being overly commercial, satisfying the clients too much, fitting in to the little molds that are out there. I mean, someone else said it very well in one of the documentaries I was watching recently. The difference between photographer and a button pusher is there's a lot of button pushers out there that are just copying what other people do, and they're copying because they know they can make money out of those copies. Yeah. You know, you only have to go to the newspaper stand and look at all the magazine covers. They're all the same.
Well, Jerry Walton,
black and white, one's in color, and this girl's got more makeup than that. It's all the same bloody photo.
That's right. Jerry said in the conversation, if you want to learn about photography, he said, don't buy your photo answers or your camera digital or all these things. He said,
everyone's trying to be so creative. Oh,
exactly right. Yeah.
Face. That's not it.
No.
Take it further. You're a photographer. You've got to say something. You're not there to just take a photo. You're an artist. What is your opinion? What are you saying? What do you want us to feel? Am I allowed to feel something? What are you saying about the subject? Are you just taking a photo of that model who pulls that same face every day, like Derek Zoolander? I mean, that's just it's a waste of time. It's a lost opportunity. I've got no time for that stuff.
You've got to find a way of expressing yourself. Here's another one from the same period, and you've mentioned him already in our conversation. Mick Duffy.
Yeah.
I didn't know of this guy until probably around about 2 years ago. It was a fantastic documentary where they reunited him with a couple of his models, and because he famously went out into the garden and burnt all his negatives.
He's a legend. It's fantastic. I love him. I think that. Yeah, all right, I just say I love him. Yeah, he's great. I mean, yeah. I've had a lot of friends sort of go, "That's you, Alex. This guy. You guys would have been great friends."
We're talking about two guys here, basically, from a period of time.
I agree with that. I mean,
I think we're talking about two photographers here, David Bailey and Mick Duffy in particular, who...
Well, they're good friends anyway.
They were good friends, you're quite right. Were prepared to push, wanted to push the boundaries. And I think what we've seen here, we saw it with Monet, with the painting style, exactly. He and his guys.
Exactly. Look, you're going to lead into one of my famous quotes. Not famous. We already have one Picasso, right?
Exactly
Picasso's
right.
not going to go and run a workshop and say, right, what I want you to do is put blue over here, put red here, do this line, and then now do this. No.
And
that's what everyone's doing in photography. There's all these wankers out there doing these courses and perpetuating this same copy syndrome thing. And it's got to stop. People got to go out there and just push it, do their own thing, you know?
Yeah, very true. That's a good point.
Do that, especially when you shoot commercially.
It does because I think a lot of...
I can't do everything I want to, but when I can, I push it, like I did with the kids or other things. But I've still got constraints. You know, it's hard. It's a give and take. You can't just go all out.
I think another thing which does happen, Alex, is that a lot of photographers, you know, they take a photograph, they put it on Google Plus or Flickr or Facebook, and they're looking for a like, a plus, or a follow.
Yeah.
And they're, to a degree, sometimes I think.
I tell people to stay off those things.
But people that are just using photography as a hobby want that. They want an acknowledgement, and I think sometimes they are frightened of putting something on there that is going to be different because it's not what is expected, if that makes sense, and they're frightened, basically saying, well, put a photograph up. I've put a photograph up on 500px and I haven't had a single vote on it, and I'm thinking,
so what? There's no one on there. There's no one. How many people on there are qualified to?
Well, exactly. You got this situation, and you're trying to sell your work to a photographer as well.
I guarantee you, I pretty much stake money on it. There's no master on Flickr. There's no master on 500px. You're not going to get any of the Magnum. They don't have time for that crap.
No, they don't. It's basically
I might be wrong. Someone might say there's half a dozen of them on there.
Well, yeah, you're going to get a few professional photographers on there who can make their comments.
Like and this and that on your image. You've got to expand outside your social circle. You've got to have confidence. You've got to develop your own style. Don't worry about what other people think. I did for too long. For 2 years I wasted trying to do everything that would entertain everybody, when all along I knew what I wanted to shoot. I knew. And even now, to an extent, I say this and it's kind of... I'm hyping myself. I know how difficult it is because my book is commercial. My book is commercial. I'm not doing any. It's not rocket science. Like I said, I'm not playing the piano there. It's just what it is. But at the same time, if we want to become great, you got to push that envelope. You got to try to take that.
Here's another photographer then, which I think pushed the boundaries a little bit. He certainly I think he's still on Magnum books, so to speak. Martin Parr. Are you familiar with him at all?
Fantastic. Okay, Martin. I've looked at a few of his documentaries, and he's got a very clear vision. I mean, I saw something recently where he was saying, it took him a while to get into Magnum because there was a lot of the guys in there that didn't want him on board. They were like, no, this doesn't fit.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was exactly what Magnum needed. But even then, okay, you've got him, and he shoots the quirky, the banal. He shoots everyday life, and it's fantastic what he does. But don't go out and copy him. You know? Which is that's going to become a cliche too.
Exactly right.
photography is full of cliches, and what we've got to do is just and there's room to shoot other stuff. Like I said, my mate Thomas Lazar is not copying anyone. If you see his stuff, if you can understand it, you'll be like, damn it, you know. And there is room for that greatness. That's why I'm so critical of my own work. I'm like, I'm a cliche. My stuff, you know, everyone says, Alex, I've got my signature. I know, it's very obvious, and it's spawned out of the new equipment. The Fujis have let me take photos that the other guys before me couldn't, because they didn't have that technology to be in that situation to get that spontaneity the same way. I've got a different kind of approach, and obviously, I'm as a photographer, you bring in your life experiences and your strengths and your weaknesses, and they come through in what you want to say, because everyone else wants to say something else. So their images are going to look different. But if you understand the different techniques, if you've got different equipment that can help you shoot different techniques to tell your vision, then it's going to be unique, you know. And that's what you got to try to do. But like I said, I'm struggling with my photography. I'm trying really hard to do more of what's in my mind.
I think I've been having conversations with a couple of people recently about this, and they say, "Oh, I'm a little bit jammed up at the moment. I'm stuck in a rut. I don't know what to do." And I think you're right. There's two ways of doing it, as I see it. My preferred way, I put the Fuji away and I get my iPhone out and I just go walk about and just sort of look at changing the style a little bit. That's the way I try. I'm definitely not in a professional league of that nature. Others probably just retreat, study books, and rethink their whole process through, and then go out and apply themselves, and something will click in the end and they're away. Others will buy a new camera and get a new lens, which is probably the more expensive route to take. But there's a different ways of
it can liberate you, because it might give you that impetus to pick it up and walk out with it out.
That's very true.
What these smaller cameras are doing. For me, where I'm stuck is, I mean, I've got another kids campaign that I'm going to be flying to Germany. We're doing a 2-day shoot in a private jet hangar with Rolls Royces and Ferraris. It's going all out, right? But at the same time, I want to go crazy with my creative, but I've got a client, you know, that I've got restrictions. Now, when am I ever going to get a chance to put kids doing a James Bond kind of scene with parachute hanging out of a private jet with wind machine? You know, I can't afford to do that.
No.
But I can convince my client to. That's going to be the next thing that comes out in my book. And then people can go, wow, look at Alex, he's so avant-garde. You know what? I had a massive production behind me.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's opportunity as well. It's chance. It's all that kind of stuff. I mean, movie directors get to create these elaborate things. Those movies are costing millions of pounds to produce.
Yeah, they are.
I love that. You know, if sometimes a lot of it is just being able to put the team together that I want, having the resources. You know, some of those shoots that I've done, they're 10, 15, 20 grand a day in production. You know,
is this a new client for you, or?
No, I've been shooting them this is the kids. I've been shooting them for a couple of years.
So you may be able to get your word across and get the way that you want to.
No, she loves all my ideas, but you know, we also have time constraints. You got the kids for 6 hours, and I want to have a kid hanging on the roof of a Ferrari, you know, spinning around the corner. You know, all this kind of, it's crazy. But at the end of I mean, that's just going left field. But what I mean is that sometimes you need to have these great budgets and things, and some photographers move to greatness quite quickly, especially the Baileys and all those kind of guys, because they had these massive machine behind them. They had all the designers, they had the stylists, they had all the teams. You know, how you get look at Avedon. Who's going to give you an elephant?
Exactly,
you know? Come on. But he knew what to do with it, right?
Very true. Yeah,
he's the king.
Yeah,
you know, I love him.
Let me give you two more photographers, because I'm interested to know what you've got to say about these guys. Because don't tell the wife, but this is going to be my next book. William Eggleston, the American street photographer.
Okay, William. I've not looked at a lot of his stuff. I actually looked at him again this weekend, because he's one. Maybe even yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, he's great. He just did a. Well, he didn't just do it. I saw a documentary where he's gone back into Brooklyn and. That's right. Yeah. He did. There's a lot of him in. Yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of that has come into my. When I was watching it yesterday, I was thinking that that's me. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to do. some of it's setups, but he's a street photographer, and something that I don't want to be. Not that I don't want to be. I'm not worthy of the title street photographer.
Yeah.
Photography is such an art. There's a funny joke that I'll just quickly deviate about Cartier-Bresson rolling in his grave at such a rapid pace. Every time someone uses the word street photographer, that he's they're worried that he's going to catch fire. And Eggleston was a street photographer. I mean, he is one of the pioneers. I mean, you got Bresson, but he studied Bresson like a maniac.
Exactly.
As well, but he took it to his own way, and
one of the first users of color as well.
Photos, and I wish I'd taken some of his work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's not where I'm headed.
No.
So
what about
to make the distinction and know where you're going? And I'm not by any means one of them.
No. What about the other one I'm going to mention, William Klein? I went to see an exhibition of his last year.
Again, so you're only going to mention all the masters.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not talking about
they're masters. That's
okay. Let's change it.
What the best part is they shared all along because they were so good. Part of mastering is talking. Dali, Picasso, all these guys used to go and hang out in cafes and talk, and like what we do, you can't stop us from talking whenever we catch up.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's what makes people take it to that next level. And these guys did that, and we're so fortunate that they produced these books. They didn't keep this to themselves because they didn't have to produce those books. They didn't have to go on interviews. They didn't have to.
No.
But they do, and that's.
And the guys in those days,
standing on their shoulders.
And the guys in those days were taking photographs because they enjoyed photography, not because they wanted to make money.
No, everything that we do, we owe to them. We're standing on their shoulders.
Very true.
It can't be underestimated. What else can I say about those guys?
No, I agree with you. I think that if you're going to enjoy your photography, and if you want to learn about photography, you have to study the masters. And there are some masters of today, don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to talk about those guys.
I mean, just for brilliant people out there. Yeah. Like I said before, we were talking, I think, before we got on about the famous line in that Jim Jarmusch movie. They're talking about this artist who's so fantastic, and but why isn't he famous? Why isn't she famous? And he's like, it's too good to be famous. This day. Yeah. Fame, a lot of people think is synonymous with greatness and quality, and it's so far from it. There are guys out there who've got 150 Instagram followers or 300 Instagram followers, but they're absolutely brilliant. They just blow my mind.
Yeah.
Like made me want to just give up and throw the camera at the wall. But I use them as inspiration because I realize I'm going to keep learning for 40 years.
And that's the way to do it. If you see great work out there, you've got to use it as inspiration. You can't say, oh, to hell with it, I'm giving up. No, you've got to use this work as inspiration, whether it is with an iPhone or whether it's with a DSLR.
Well, there's something very important with photography, and this comes down to what makes it very hard for enthusiasts and amateurs when they're starting out, is the online presence of trolls and habitual commentators and likes and this and that and the influence that has on their development. People have to start to really pick who they're going to allow to critique them. And the reason for that is if you let someone that's not qualified to critique you affect your judgment of yourself, your confidence especially, because that's very important for your growth.
Yeah, agree with you.
You allow these things to either give you false confidence or to drop you when it's undue. It can have detrimental effects both ways. I think the majority of people out there think because of photography, in a way, you can start to learn and understand the buzzwords and get into it, that it's simpler than it is. For me, it's far more terrifying and difficult to understand it at the level that I want to. And I think that most people don't take hint of the fact that they don't know enough to know how much they don't even know yet.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of photography. And you see
you're right.
Rants on these YouTube things and all these rants on these photography blogs, and you just think, my God, you're asking the wrong questions. They're not the questions,
No, it's very true. Alex, it's been great to talk to you. I love your opinions on your vocation, my hobby, It's absolutely fantastic. Where basically, if you'd just like to let guys know, obviously I'll be putting this in the show notes later on. Where can we find you on the internet?
alexlambrechts.com. That's mine. I've got 3 portfolios there. You've got a number of links and all that kind of thing. I mean,
that'll link off all to your Facebook and your.
Yeah, I've got Facebook links there. I've got a Facebook page and.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Okay, well I'll put that in the show notes. If I'll get Alex to send the links through to me so I can put them in the show notes proper, which will be published on next Monday. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. It's just come to the end of the show where I always sign off with my usual one-liner.
It's just been me ranting, hasn't it?
My one-liner: leave your camera bag at home.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.